Start the recording. Okay, and we're live. Everybody, hello. Welcome back to our live chat series. I'm with somebody that I'm really excited to talk to. Let me see if I get your name correct. Ines Giovanett.
Perfect.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, of Castelfeder Winery in Alto Adige. I'm really excited because Castelfeder is unique because it's a family-owned winery in a region dominated by cooperatives or cooperativas in Italiano. And I came across these wines a couple of years ago in Slovenia, of all places, and was instantly drawn to them. So, Ines, thanks for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. It's great to be here. Thanks.
So, everyone, I kind of want to know, you're up there in northern Italy. I think everyone wants to know, how is the situation going up there now that Italy's starting to open up just a little bit?
Yeah, let's say that from the outside, northern Italy has all put into one pot, and so it was basically. But Lombardy and Veneto, unfortunately, were hit much harder than our region. We are in the very, very north, to the border to Austria and Switzerland, and I have to say that the numbers were always kind of, it was always okay. Of course, we had that, and but still it's better than in other regions, and we are very, very lucky that we were able to open 1 week or 2 weeks before the rest of Italy. And so right now, basically on yesterday, restaurants and bars could open, and we're very excited. It's all strange because we have to wear the mask, we have to wear gloves, when you go to a restaurant, it's all different, but at least something is moving. And I feel like this little tiny movement is already making people so much more happy.
I want to ask you, let's jump right into a loaded question. So you're a family winery. You do produce a good amount of wine, but you're still a family-run winery. How have you had to change marketing strategy, business model? Have you seen anything that you think can work after the world returns back to normal?
Well, for us and for me especially, I have to say it was simply initially, because when this crisis hit everybody, I think everybody was just like, what's happening? What's going on? And for me, it was to stay alive, kind of mean to do something, to just go on and not be stopped. And we were also lucky in that position because our so basically in Italy, all over Italy, wineries did not have to close by law. And so that was a good point. We were continuously trying to figure out what to do. I was basically waking up every morning with a new idea. And it helped me a lot because we were going much more, selling much more towards private customers. We worked with a couple of influencers to promote our wines online. We have invested quite a bit of time, especially into social media, into online marketing, all that. We've seen that the only things that were actually moving, the only sales that we actually had were the online sales and some shops which could stay open, for example, in Germany. Mm-hmm. And for us, we have always been focused on export markets. And so being present in 28 states in the world has helped, of course. But now that after 1 month that basically almost the whole world was shut down, it became quite tricky for us as well. Yeah. And right now, so I wouldn't say we have changed our sales strategy or marketing strategy completely, but we have definitely been more and more flexible and just tried to pick every good thing. And I think that it helped us a lot also having focused on social media already in the past 3-4 years, so that we had a good starting point with that.
Okay, well, let's talk about some more positive things for people that don't know. Yes, I get tons of comments. My lockdown here is getting out of control. It's been 3.5 months. I'm getting it cut this week, guys, so just calm down. Let's talk a little bit about where you're the third generation since the family started the winery, right? Let's start on a very basic level. some people don't even know where Alto Adige is or what Alto Adige is all about. Can you talk a little bit about why the region is so special?
Of course. So Alto Adige is one of the smallest wine growing regions within Italy. We're not even 1% of the Italian wine production, and that is very important to know. But not being so small also allows us to be, or to have become in the past 30 years, one of the highest quality producing wine regions within Italy. Alto Adige is at the very northern border of Italy towards Austria and Switzerland. And we sometimes, so officially we are one region with Trentino. Trentino, Alto Adige is one region, but Alto Adige is the province where we mainly speak German, because we used to be part of Austria until World War I. And so over 70% of our population here still speaks German as their main language, and so do I and my family. And also from the production point of view, Alto Adige is much smaller than Trentino, and therefore also known for some of the highest quality, especially white wines. So right now, our region produces 70% white wines and 30% reds. And of the reds, for our winery, but also for many other wineries, Pinot Noir and Lahn and Schiava are the most important varieties.
I'm just kind of showing people the map where you are up right here. So I always help when I have maps. Here's the Adriatic Sea. Here's the Mediterranean. So you're way up here, obviously north, but you do have your fair share of whites. One thing that people, when people look at pictures, it's a beautiful region, right? You're surrounded by mountains.
Yeah, it is mostly mountains. I think we're over 70% of the whole area is actually mountains. And we have the beautiful Dolomites, which are just, I mean, for traveling, for hiking, for everybody who loves nature, the Dolomites are just a very unique experience. These white rocks, very impressive, go up to 3,800 meters, so quite impressive from that point of view. And then Alto Adige has also a little bit of a Mediterranean influence from the southern part of Italy, and so you can see this difference between, you have the mountains, and then right underneath it you have this green, I don't know the word, but meadows. Yes,
right? Yes, meadows, correct.
And just a little bit lower, you have the vineyards and the apple orchards, and it's just, especially in spring and in fall, it's very beautiful.
I recommend, if you want to see it, people, you should Google on YouTube the Guild Somm video, Wines of Alto Adige. Yeah. Ines is actually in it. You'll see her actually in it, but you could see the beautiful scenery. So I want to talk a little bit about your wines. You know, the first wines I was introduced, even though right now I'm drinking one of your whites, I'm drinking your Kerner from the Lahn vineyard. What are you having?
I'm drinking Sauvignon Ripe.
Oh, okay. So for those of that, you have whites, Kerner, very unique grape, cross of Schiava and Riesling, if I remember correct, right?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Here's one thing I don't know about your winery. Are you focused, you're more on, you personally, your Castelfeder more focused on whites or reds? Because you have Lagrein, Pinot Noir, Schiava.
So we reflect pretty much what Alto Adige is like. We produce currently 70% whites and 30% reds, but still Pinot Noir is our second most important variety, with 17.5% of our production. So even though we produce more whites, and we also have more white varieties, because we have about 10 different white varieties, we still focus a lot on Pinot Noir. And that's really, I would say, our tradition. My grandfather already produced Pinot Noir, and my father did, and my brother and I are doing so. And so we basically continue with this long, long tradition.
I want to get into Pinot Noir because I love your Pinot Noirs, but I just want to ask, what, from Castelfeder's experience, Alto Adige is known for making fantastic Sauvignon Blanc. Müller-Thurgau is supposed to do very well there. Tasted some excellent Riesling, Chardonnays, Gewürztraminer. What white grape do you feel like really does better, maybe in your vineyards or that part of the world?
So that's an interesting question, because in Alto Adige we have this, we call it the fourth dimension. We basically have such a difference in altitude, having those steep mountains where we can go up with vineyards also quite high. To the highest elevation that a producer goes up is 1,200 meters almost. We don't go up as far, but still you can imagine from the valley floor at 200 meters, we can go up to, for us it is about 900 meters of altitude, and that gives us a huge possibility to play with a lot of different white wines. And therefore saying what's doing best is quite tricky, but definitely in the valley floor or in the lower vineyards, we have great potential for Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, Pinot Noir, Pinot Bianco, sorry.
Oh,
So those are the really important whites in the, let's say, up to 400 meters of altitude.
Yeah.
And then the higher up we go, we have more Sauvignon, and then the highest elevations for our winery are Kerner and Müller-Thurgau, because they need a very cool climate. They need they have different, different climate, different temperatures that they need. And so that's what we're planting at 900 meters almost.
And for those who don't know, I mean, I cannot stress the quality of whites coming out of Alto Adige and Pinot Noirs, which we're going to talk about. I think the wines are extraordinary. Wines don't get a lot of attention, and they're very friendly in their wallet. You can get great bottles of wine for not a lot of money. Grapes like Müller-Thurgau that don't have a great reputation, the ones at Valle d'Aosta and Alto Adige are just phenomenal. So I highly recommend that. Let's talk about Pinot Noir. I want to share this story really quick, and then I'll let you do all the talking. I didn't know about. We know the wines of Alto Adige pretty well, but I didn't bump into your winery until we went to this event, Module Noir, in Slovenia. It was a festival celebrating Pinot Noirs from Central and Eastern Europe. And I tasted this. It was my highest scored wine of the show. Your Burgum Novum, Pinot Noir Reserva. I thought it was a phenomenal wine. Can you talk about your love, Castelfeder's love for Pinot Noir, Pinot Nero?
Absolutely. So for us, Pinot Noir, I was basically, and my brother, we were born into it. We were like really, for us, Pinot Noir has always been a focus. And recently we have reorganized, because we had a little bit of time, of course, during this difficult time. We have reorganized our rarity section in our warehouse. And we took out the really first bottles of 1989 of Burgum Novum with the same label, with pretty much that label that you have there. And we were just talking about that and said, well, it's pretty much been always there since we were born. And so it gives you that home and family feeling, you know. For us, it is like that. That is also why we have decided to put all of our focus into a new Pinot Noir project and really work on different exposures, different single vineyard Pinot Noirs. Yes.
The three single vineyard, the Pinot Nero project, we're actually going to taste a little bit later. I have an article coming up, guys, so you have to stay tuned to our website to check that out. I want to add about what do you think is so unique about Pinot Noir, Pinot Nero from Alto Adige or Castelfeder? Like if you were going to have this Pinot Noir in a blind tasting, or you're trying to describe it to someone, why is it so unique?
So we've done that a couple of times, blind tasting, and it was pretty interesting because, I mean, blind tastings throughout the world with Pinot Noirs. Mm-hmm. And as you know, I mean, the new world Pinot Noirs can be or tend to be sometimes a little bit more darker, a little bit more fruit. And on the other hand, then you have Burgundy with more this earthiness, very, very elegant, but still quite strong wines. And then you have Alto Adige, which seems almost like a little girl. It seems like a very feminine Pinot Noir, very delicate, very, we have a lot of fruit, but not those fruit bombs. We have more of a very delicate cherry, very, very soft, very smooth fruit. And especially the acidity and the elegance that we have in our wines with not too much tannic structure. And very often when we discuss this, we are kind of like comparing it to the world's Pinot Noirs, that we lack a little bit of tannic structure. On the other hand, I think it's very typical for our region. If you taste Pinot Noirs throughout Alto Adige, you will always find this very, very elegant style of wines. And I think that is the reason why Pinot Noir, especially within Italy, Pinot Noir from Alto Adige within Italy has become so famous and so requested, because nowhere else in Italy Pinot Noir gives those results.
Yeah, I've tasted some from Tuscany, from Friuli, Venezia Giulia, Val d'Aosta. I think Alto Adige is always the most impressive for me. I always get this mountain berry fruits, real distinctive, and because they're Italian ones, you have this acidity, this food friendliness. As I'm going to ask a little bit more of a geeky question. Shireen, in fact, is a huge Burgundy fan, really into Pinot Noir. We travel around the world looking for great Pinot Noir all the time. Are you using whole clusters when you ferment the Pinot Noir?
That's really funny because in 1989, my dad has used a whole cluster for the first time in our experience. So the winery was founded in 69, and about 20 years later, my dad used whole cluster for the first time. He wanted to try it, he wanted to check it out. And it was, of course, a completely different wine than the rest of our Pinot Noirs were. And then another 30 years later, or almost 30 years later, my brother in 2015 decided again that he would try a complete whole cluster fermentation for a part of our Pinot Nero Riserva. And so we put away that wine. It was 2 tonneaux fermenting, and we tasted it after, I think the first time we tasted it was still during fermentation. So it was, you know, that's always a little weird time. So you're just okay, seems good, but you know. And then we left it aging a little bit, and then we tasted it after a couple of months, and we were like, oh, it's green, it's completely tannic, it's completely different from all of our Pinot Noirs. And so we decided to bottle it, only Magnum bottles, because we wanted, it was more of an experiment for us. And then this year during harvest, my dad took out a Magnum bottle, blind tasted us on that, and we were all like, that could be Burgundy. I mean, it's really, you know, we were all impressed and all that. And then he opened the bottle, and basically it was the one from 2015. So what I want to say with that is that the development of a whole cluster fermentation is completely different than a development of a wine that may not be, or maybe destemmed. So for us, it was a great experience, and we think, and what we've done from then since 2015 is use a little bit of whole cluster and the rest is destemmed. And so in that we can blend them together and really have a little bit more of that tannic structure, avoiding the green notes by ripening the grapes or ripening the stems, especially until they become quite red or brownish. And just trying to get not an over ripening, but a very intense and strong grape quality. And so to give more structure to the wine. And it's been very successful since then, I have to say.
Do you know what clones do you have in the vineyard? Are they German clones?
We have some Freiburger clones, so it's very, it varies a lot in the 3 areas that we have. So we have one cooler area, which is the wine you showed before, where we have a little bit looser clones. And then in the classic Mazzone area, we have all classic Dijon clones. And then in Glen, where it goes up a little bit higher, we have Dijon, Freiburger, and some Italian clones mixed.
I think this is really interesting. I've only tasted vintages of Burgum Novum. I haven't tasted this project yet. I have the Buscholz, and the other wines are back there. But one thing that's cool is I see that the vineyards are anywhere from like 450 meters to 790 meters. For those watching in the States, I remember we're talking about 1,500 feet up to close to 3,000 feet. For those of you Alto Adige, the valley floor is actually quite low. It's not very high, and the mountains just shoot straight up. So these are vineyards that are seeing some serious altitude, right? What are the slopes like on these vineyards?
The steepness is quite okay because we have all clay soil, so we can make terraces actually. Okay. So from that, I mean, they are pretty steep, but with the terraces, it allows us to work in a more easy way. And but I have to say that also my idea of steepness has changed quite a bit when my brother in 2011 bought a vineyard in the Mosel Valley in Germany. Yeah. And from that moment on, I was like, when I was the first time there, I was like looking down, oh my God. From that moment on, our vineyards are not steep anymore for me.
What village are you in the Mosel?
In the Mosel, we are in Reil, near Traben-Trarbach.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to bring up, let's see on your website here, if there is a picture of, if there's any pictures. I'll wait and get to it. Okay. I was trying to show if there was any pictures of Alto Adige because it's such
I have one if you want.
Okay. You can share screen actually. Do you know how to?
Yeah, I have become almost an expert.
Yeah, I'm sure that you really know what you're doing. Maybe more,
By
probably more
doing
than
so
I do.
many Zoom meetings and all that. I think it's great, by the way. I love it. So
Yes,
I
especially
think it's
if
just a great way to
especially if somebody's invested in Zoom, then they're really, no,
yeah.
while Ines is looking it up, I have to admit, Wine Geeks are studying up like crazy. I've tasted tons of Alto Adige wines. It's one region. I was in Italy the last 2 years, probably 8 or 9 times. I still have not been to Alto Adige in person. Something that I
Well,
need
we're
to change.
waiting for you.
Yeah, something
As
that I
soon as
need
we
to
can travel.
change. I mean, I love the wines. Castelfeder, how many countries are you? You're in 28 countries around the world, correct? You said? You can
Yeah.
find a lot of these wines around the world. You find wines like Lahn, Nels Magritte, I'm sorry, Franz Haas. You find these wines all over the world, really, really fair prices, in my opinion. But I love hiking, I love climbing, so I have to make it there. I have to make it up there, then make a little side trip to Valtellina.
Absolutely. I have the pictures, but I cannot share them. You have to activate so that I can share the screen.
Let me see if I know how to even. Hold on.
Otherwise, I send them to you and you can
Okay.
share.
Let's see. I think I don't know how, so maybe you'll have to send me a photo.
Yeah, I've actually never had that before. I send them to you.
Okay. So anyways, are you going to plant more Pinot Noir? What's the deal? It seems like that's becoming a bigger part of your story.
So yeah, of course, we were not expecting COVID-19. So we launched this new project with about, let's say, right now we do in total about 60,000 bottles of Pinot Noir, which is already a lot. And we have added 3 new wines, include that in those 60,000 bottles. And so right now the focus is on get those going and trying to promote them and really go on with what we have. I think this crisis will take us a couple of years at least to get over. It will not be over tomorrow. It will not be over by the end of the year from economic point of view.
Yeah.
And so for now, we have a lot of work to do on selling those wines.
On a side question, how are your colleagues and producers feeling? Because obviously the Dolomites, that part of the Alto Adige, you get a lot of tourism, so restaurants are a big part of sales where the wines move.
Yeah.
How are people thinking in terms of optimism? Are they neutral, optimistic, pessimistic? How this is going to all play out?
It really depends. I've talked to many people. Some of them are really very, I would say, very sad about the whole thing, and it's very hard.
Yeah.
Some say, no, it will go on, and I'm one of those. I'm just saying we have to be positive because we cannot change the course of this. We cannot really do a lot of it. We can just be open, look what others do, look what's happening, and react immediately. So that's the only thing we can do right now. And I think nobody is expecting that it will take off immediately, right? Like let's say in June or July again. As long as the borders are closed, it will be tough for the restaurants here and for the hotels. As soon as the borders open, when I talk to German customers, they're all saying, we can't wait. And as soon as the borders open, we're coming on vacation. So
Okay.
we hope for that. In the meanwhile, Italian people, if the regions are opening, because right now we cannot even move within Italy. So as soon as the regions are opening, I think somebody will also show up.
This is the great shot. This is what I'm talking about. Where is your winery actually? If you can see on the screen, where are you? Are you on the left side here or the right
We're
side?
in do you see the mountains at the end of the river?
Yes.
Yeah. We're located down there. That's the very end of Alto Adige. It's the southern entrance of Alto Adige, basically.
So that goes to the lake, right?
Yes, that goes to the lake.
Okay, excellent. Wow. So this is
if you look at this this wall on the right side in the right picture, yes, that's where the name Castelfeder comes from. That's where the name of our winery comes from. It's an old Roman customs point because, as you can see from here, you can overlook the whole valley to the south and also to the north on the other side. And that's what the Romans used at that time, because everything you see here in the valley floor is apple trees. Alto Adige is actually a pretty important producer of apples.
Yes.
And only on the slopes we have the vineyards. And during like 2,000 years ago, all this area where the apples were planted was still wetlands. It was basically the river flew all over the valley, and it was not accessible. And so the Romans built their main road, which crossed all the Roman Empire from Rome to Germany, on the other side where your cursor is, yes, on this side of the valley, and then crossed Castelfeder and then went on.
Ah, very cool. I definitely got to get there. I want to change gears a little bit. I'm drinking Kerner, like I said, which is a cross of Schiava, Riesling. I know that it's a very predictable grape. I know producers in Alto Adige are working with resistant grapes. That might be the future of wine. Are you doing the same thing? Are you working with these odd varieties?
We have a little bit of Solaris.
Mm-hmm.
It's our first experience. It's been 2 years. It's pretty interesting, I have to say, and especially it's interesting also for areas where you are maybe near to a little village or something. So for treatments, it's not the perfect thing, and they're resistant, so you don't have to do any spraying, any treatments. From that point of view, it's interesting. From a marketing point of view, I think it's pretty tough to sell them because not a lot of people know them right now.
Yeah.
Kerner instead has made its way. Luckily in Alto Adige, we're some of the few areas who produce a dry Kerner. And that is why people love it, and it has been so successful in the last years. In Germany, there is a lot of Kerner produced, but it's very often produced sweet or off dry, and so that's not everybody's style.
Thank you for pronouncing my German pronunciation there. That's not good.
Yeah, don't worry.
I was 2 months in Germany last year, going through all the wine regions, and then some of the pronunciations were so difficult. I tasted a Bronner from Lieselhof. Actually, I had a bottle a little while ago, and it was I found it to be an interesting wine, more than a good wine, so to speak. So I think that's probably going to be the challenge, right, with the resistant grapes.
It is. Some can give very interesting results, and I have to say that just because they're unknown, still the wine can be very, very interesting. But as I said, just from a marketing point of view, I don't know. Solaris is doing well here in Alto Adige. People know it. People like to drink it. But I doubt that it will reach the fame that, like, let's say, I don't know, a Sauvignon or something has.
I want to ask one interesting, because your grandfather's still alive, right? Who founded the winery, correct?
He passed away, unfortunately, in September. Yes.
Okay. Well, my condolences. That's one thing I didn't know.
He was 98 years old, so he had a great life.
He lived a great life. I mean, so but you grew up knowing him. So this is also an interesting question. In 3 generations, he started the winery in '69. You grew up. Your dad took over. Then you and your brother are starting to take over. Through your stories from your grandfather, your father, and you and your brother, how have you seen the image and the quality and everything of the wines of Alto Adige change over time?
Well, if we look at the story of Alto Adige, it's impressive that in 30 years, we could see the change from this to this. So I am 35 years old, and I have no memories of how it was when my dad and my grandfather were at the winery, but I still know those stories, and it's something that we have, even though we may not have lived through all of it, but we still have it in our, in our mind. Alto Adige until 30-40 years ago produced 70% red wines, and out of this 40% was Schiava. So our local variety was produced in big quantities, and it was mostly sold in bulk to Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. So you can imagine we have basically made a complete change. In the 80s, mid 80s to late 80s, it has started. Basically, the winery started to produce more high quality, go towards less yield and just simply better wines. And from that on, it has basically gone like this. So now we are at the point, which is pretty interesting in for my brother and me, because we are at the new changing point. Because now we have, as you said before, we have a very good level of quality, but we also have a good price level, because we're not too high, we're not too low. We have a pretty good medium price range, which is affordable for many people. And now the idea, or the philosophy is more going towards how can we transmit as a very small wine growing area the reality, the vineyards, what we are doing, and this great work that we do in the vineyards to our customers. And that is why we're focusing so much on the single vineyards, because for us, it's what we live every day. We have always focused on the single vineyards, even if in the end we may blend them together, but each single vineyard has a very high importance for us. And each single vineyard is different. And so it's this knowledge that my grandfather already passed on to my dad and to us, that you just have to listen to the vineyards, you have to look at them, you have to learn them, you have to understand them. And I also think that this is the best way and the most authentic way to make the customer understand what we are actually doing and what he's drinking. Because if I have a Pinot Noir from Buscholz, the one you have there, I can tell the whole story. And if you are coming to visit, or anybody else is coming to visit, I can take you to Buscholz, I can show you and explain and show you everything. And I just think that's a great way. And that's why we believe so much in the single vineyards. And that's the next step. So right now in Alto Adige, we can produce over 20 different varieties. And with this vineyard allocations a little bit, I think that this may be reduced in the future, maybe not in the near future, because it's one of our great potentials to produce so many different varieties. So it's hard to say, I'm not producing Kerner anymore. Yeah. Why not? If I make a good Kerner, if I can sell it, why should I not make it?
This is good, by the way. This is a good Kerner, by the way.
Thank you. But still, we're trying to focus. And my brother and I, we have decided on 5 varieties. So it's Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, because it's the biggest part of our production. Yeah. It's Pinot Noir, of course. It's Sauvignon, and it's Lahn. So that's pretty much what we want to focus on.
I have to taste your, I love Lahn, by the way. Love Lahn, love the variety. I have a couple questions here from people. This is a question actually Shireen too is interested in. It's about Sauvignon Blanc. Because for me, okay, the Kiwis have made it really, really famous. The New Zealanders have made it famous in, the last 20 years. But for me, really world-class Sauvignon Blanc, for me, when I think of it, I think of the Loire. I think of Steiermark in Austria, Friuli Venezia Giulia, your neighbor. There's a region called Santa Barbara, County in California, and Alto Adige. So what makes Sauvignon so special there in Alto Adige?
So for me, I have to admit that I'm the only one of our family that I don't drink a lot of Sauvignon Blanc. So my whole family, whenever we have a family reunion, it's always Sauvignon Blanc from all over the world. For me, the Sauvignon here, what I really like and what I sometimes don't like in, for example, New Zealand or Friuli Venezia Giulia, is this very strong, intense acidity. In Alto Adige, I feel like the acidity is present, it's there, but it's a little smoother. The wines are a little softer on the palate, and I really like that, and I think that also is an important characteristic of Sauvignon in Alto Adige. On the other hand, I think that from the aromatics, we are still finding our way. We have kind of two types. One, the more green style, the more very green aromatic style, and the other one, the little smoother, softer style on the nose. And so I think we're still, you can find both in Alto Adige. So we're kind of trying to find our way there.
I have another question here, because we actually have a lot of young winemakers following the page, following us too as well. How is the transition when you're a multi-generational winery? How is smoothing out that transition between grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, then grandson, granddaughter?
So I would lie if I would say, oh, it's always great, it's all perfect. But no, we have lived, my dad took over the winery when he was very young, only 22 years old. So basically for him, it was completely, my grandfather gave the winery to him, and that was pretty much it. For us, my dad is very young, so we've been working with my dad and my mom for 14 years now. Wow. And it's always done well because we are four very different characters. So my mom is the one that balances out everyone. So she's always the, you know, if she weren't there, most probably we would fight a little more. My dad is still, you know, the boss. He decides and everything, but he was very good at bringing us and teaching us a lot of things in the first years, working with us very, very closely in the first years, and then slowly, you know, giving the responsibilities to us. So right now I am basically completely overlooking the whole sales and marketing side, and my brother is overlooking the whole production. And so each of us has his part, and my dad is still mainly controlling the finances and all that. And so it's doing very well. And also from a philosophical point of view, where the winery should go, where do we want to go, we have the same goal. And I think that's what counts, and that's the most important part. If you have different ideas, then it's getting tricky, but I think we have the same idea with some, you know, sometimes. But generally we have one goal.
Yeah, you're the one that gets to travel all the time too, right?
Yes.
So that works out pretty well too for people that like to travel. I have one last question here. besides Castelfeder, which I think I'm just putting a plug out there because this is something I truly believe. I've had several vintages. The Burgum Novum, I think, is just phenomenal Pinot Noir. Anybody that purchases it, they're not going to be disappointed. I think it's fantastic, world-class Pinot Noir. What are some other colleagues, some producers that you think are doing a good job there besides yourselves?
Absolutely. I mean, Alto Adige has so many great wines that it's really hard to mention some. But for Pinot Noir, we are, of course, some of the key producers are Hofstetter, Lahn, Michela Carlotto is a small producer, but also producing great Pinot Noir. And there are many others that we really like to drink. So for Pinot Noir, from that side, it's really great. And then everyone has its favorite. And for a long time, I very often drank the Kerner from Köfferhof.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite wines for a very long time. And then you switch, you know, but there are really a lot of good ones. So yeah.
Great. I hope to make sure, and I hope to make it up there sooner rather than later. Hopefully when all this clears up, not only to drink some wine, eat some great food, and do some hiking, burn off some of those calories that everybody, or at least I'm accumulating during this whole lockdown process. One last question. What is the production size, Castelfeder? How many bottles or liters?
We do 600,000 bottles now. We're working 70 hectares, so 70.
Okay, wow. And for it's all estate grown fruit. That's right. You're only using, or do you buy you have to buy a fruit?
So Alto Adige is quite diverse from that point of view. It's we have 25 hectares ourselves, or now almost 30 hectares that we work ourselves and that we follow completely. And then Alto Adige is very small parcels. You saw that before maybe on the picture. It's very small vineyards. And so we have a lot of wine growers that actually deliver the grapes to us. But we're still a privately owned winery. So it's not like a cooperative, but it's from the idea. The difference is that for us, they're wine growers that deliver the grapes, and in the cooperative, they basically buy a share. And so they're shareholders of the cooperative. So that's the main difference.
Yeah, it's an area dominated by small growers selling the cooperatives. That's just a picture. Right. That's just a picture of the vineyard. Like I said, I just stare at that forever because I love mountains. That looks spectacular.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on. And one last small thing: are you selling direct to consumers, direct from the website? Your website?
Absolutely, we are. We don't have an online shop right now. We're working on it, but everybody can email us, and we ship in many countries in the world, and it's definitely not a problem to ship to the eastern part of Europe or anywhere else, or even to the US if anybody wants. We can also ship the wine.
Great. So keep up the good work, guys. Check out Castelfeder. I'm telling you, some serious juice coming out of Alto Adige. Ines, thank you so much. I'll stop the recording. I'll say goodbye to you privately once we get this all stopped. Guys, if you like this, follow our Facebook page, Exotic Wine Travel. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Exotic Wine Travel. Click the bell so you know when new videos are coming out. I'll put Castelfeder, all the links in the description box, and I will see you at the next episode.